In the world of Naruto, shiny magical eyes are about as common as Orochimaru being banned from playgrounds and have kids running around with Kekkei Genkai. Just about every overpowered character you can think of has some kind of a Dojutsu, and out of all the shinobi who have Dojutsu, the Uchiha clan are ironically some of the most famous ninja in the ninja world themselves, yet oftentimes their eyes, they do get misunderstood. This is large in part due to two things. Number one, it's been 10 years since the Naruto manga officially ended in Weekly Shonen Jump. And number two, the series has added a lot of new information to the lore that has made the Sharingan a lot more interesting and dangerous than it ever was before. That's why in today's newest edition of the Kekkei Genkai Handbook over here on Naruto Explained, we're going to be taking a much needed and in-depth look at the Sharingan eye, going over what the eye is, some of the misconceptions that still exist in the fandom, the new information regarding the eye that we got post Naruto manga, and the actual inspirations that led to Kishimoto making the Sharingan. And it is not the whole Kishimoto got the idea from seeing Kurapika's scarlet eyes. We're gonna go a lot deeper than that. And it's for that reason I hope by the end of the video you leave this one feeling like this is the most detailed explanation of the Sharingan that you've seen on YouTube. So getting right to it, the Sharingan itself, as many of you guys will remember, is the Kekkei Genkai that members of the Uchiha clan are born with, and the eye itself, it can be traced back to Kaguya's bloodline, making it one of the three great Dojutsu in the Naruto world, with the other two being the Hyuga clan's Byakugan and the other one being the Rinnegan eye. Originally, the Sharingan powers, they were derived from Kaguya's Rinne Sharingan, which led to the anime-only scene of her son Hagoromo awakening the Sharingan in anime filler, and in Naruto's manga, Hagoromo's son Indra, the founder of the Uchiha clan, was the first person with human blood to possess the Sharingan eye. However, one misconception I still see a lot of fans have is that there's this belief that every Uchiha has the Sharingan or the potential to awaken the Sharingan, which the knee-jerk reactions say, yes, of course, we saw like 900 different Uchiha in the series, except here's the thing, the lore tells us a different story. When we turn back the pages and we go through Naruto's manga, going all the way back to volume 2 of Naruto, in chapter 12 specifically, we see Kakashi debut his Sharingan eye, and the moment that Sasuke sees it, he's shown scowling because the eye itself, as he says, is only meant to be unique to a small number of those in the Uchiha clan. This line of thinking would continue as we move through the Naruto manga itself, where even in the Uchiha Massacre flashback, the number of Uchiha we see with the eye, it is limited, with none of the data books even listing characters like the elderly couple that the anime showed you giving Sasuke sweets and talking to him about how amazing Itachi was at the academy. So Urichi Uchiha and her husband Tiyaki, neither of them were listed in any of the 4 official Naruto data books as having the Sharingan eye, and even the anime guidebooks, which are also detailed, none of them say it either. This is consistent with what we're told in Boruto about the Hyuga clan in the episode that Masashi Kishimoto wrote, where it's revealed not every Hyuga that is born in the clan awakens the Byakugan, which given the mythos in the Naruto world says that the Sharingan is a mutation of the Byakugan. It completely lines up. Moving deeper, as you guys know, the Sharingan awakening, it is typically linked to super emotional experiences, which goes back to what Tobirama states in chapter 619 of Naruto, which is due to the Uchiha possessing the strong capacity for love. When they lose love or they feel a strong surge of emotion, it leads to the chakra changing in their bodies, which affects the optic nerves that create the Sharingan. Hence, the Sharingan is known as the eye that reflects the heart. Despite what some fans are still under the impression of death, it is not the required ingredient to awaken the Sharingan. It just needs to be a super strong emotion, and by strong, I mean extremely strong, as in that primal instinct to protect a close loved one or an ally in a helpless life or death situation, like we see when Sasuke reawakened the Sharingan when he was trying to protect Naruto from Haku when he thought both of them would die, when Obito was scared for his and Kakashi's lives during the Third Ninja War, or when Sasuke originally awakened the eye during the Uchiha Massacre and he felt that heartbreaking trauma that came from both seeing all the dead bodies in the street as well as seeing his brother Itachi admit to being behind the massacre. Even in Naruto Gaiden, where there is a slight change that people got pissed off about, which is better known as the Shin Uchiha arc, which despite what ill-informed people on Twitter and Reddit will tell you, this is a story that is written by the Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto, and it is illustrated by him. In that manga volume, in Naruto chapter 704, we see Sarada awaken the Sharingan out of the love for her father and the prospect of meeting him for the first time, which the anime, under the supervision version of the former Boruto writer Ukyo Kodachi added a scene to the anime version of this story, confirming that when Sarada was bedridden in the manga and she was wanting to see her father when she got sick, she awakened the Sharingan in that moment and wore glasses ever since, which is what Sakura tells Shizune in the anime. Sarada's had Sharingan from that moment. The traumatic experiences that come with awakening the Sharingan, in most cases, they cannot be downplayed, but the way that the story highlights the change, it is absolutely amazing because we as the audience, we get to see why the eye is so deeply coveted by those who know of it. So the enhanced perception and the way that for some it takes time to adjust, it can't be downplayed, like we see when Itachi awakens the Sharingan in the anime adaptation of the Itachi Shinden Story of Daylight, where after the death of his teammate Tenma, Itachi awakens the Sharingan and it takes some time to regain his bearings. This will be addressed years later in the Boruto anime, where it was stated in episode 171 that the Sharingan does consume chakra even for an Uchiha, but the chakra control is a component to making the most out of it for long periods of time. It's not just enough to have the body of an Uchiha, though given the context of it being told to someone who is a half-blood Uchiha in the form of Sarada, it makes sense, but we will get on that later when we talk about the half-breeds. In most cases, the Sharingan, when someone awakens it, they start off with just the one Tomo, but in extremely rare cases, like the situation where Obito, someone can awaken a 2 Tomo in their eyes right off the bat. With each Tomo that's added, the Sharingan grows in strength in terms of their ability to properly exploit the advantages given by possessing the Sharingan, which come down to the Eye of Insight and the Eye of Hypnotism. And when one has a full 3 Tomo Sharingan, a sign of a true maturation of the Sharingan, they will be able to push their Sharingan to its near limits of what the 3 Tomo can do. We also learned that Tobirama in chapter 625 of the Naruto manga, where he says that the Sharingan itself gives the user more power when their emotions are at their peak, where he says that the secret of the Sharingan is that the stronger their emotions, in particular their hate, the stronger their ocular powers become, which we see an example of that when Sasuke gets his rage amp against Danzo, which causes his chakra to grow visibly thicker in its aura, and earlier in the 5 Kage summit when Karin senses the change in Sasuke's chakra and the power and the darkness that she senses, it has her scale Sasuke's chakra levels to being higher than the curse mark level, which is a confirmed 10 times multiplier, which is absolutely insane. With the Sharingan, you have 2 main sets of abilities for the eyes in terms of the function, but unlike the Mangekyo Sharingan, which separates the powers between the eyes, with just the basic Sharingan, both eyes, they possess both aspects of these powers, but as Madara tells us, the true power of the Sharingan can be fully exploited when both eyes are in close proximity. This doesn't just apply to Mangekyo Sharingan, but also just regular Sharingan as well. The first power that the Sharingan has is the Eye of Insight, which shows some of its similarities to the Byakugan, which back up the assertion in the mythos that it was a mutation of the Byakugan. So the Eye of Insight lets the user see chakras of color, as we see Sasuke when he explains to Deidara in their fight, and during the Kabuto fight, we see Sasuke and Itachi's Sharingan are able to see chakras of color and also see through obstructions, but not to the degree of someone like the Byakugan. The Eye of Insight is also able to see the chakra flow of a person who they're looking at, which is how Obito saw Rin under the effects of Genjutsu, and Sasuke during his fight with Naruto, the very first fight, could see the changes in the chakra flow when Naruto's rage began to get the better of him and the Nine-Tails chakra began to start leaking out towards the surface. The Eye of Insight also has incredibly amped up perception, which is how Sasuke in the Chunin exams was able to mimic the handwriting movements of other students, and why Fugaku's aides were suspicious of Shisui's suicide note. The Eye of Insight also gives the user precognition, where they can predict the movements of their targets by seeing the changes in their muscle twitches and the subtle movements of their body. However, as we see with Rock Lee versus Sasuke, the precognition does have a weakness in that it doesn't matter if the user can see what's about to come if their bodies are too slow to react. Hence, Rock Lee embarrassed Sasuke during their first fight. The Eye of Insight also allows for the user to copy the hand signs of their target and even predict the ones that are going to be weaved next, which is how Kakashi could finish Zabuza's Water Dragon Jutsu before him. The Sharingan Eye of Insight can also allow the user to deduce what the Sharingan sees as the chakra nature of the attack if the user is experienced enough when using the eye, like we see when Kakashi is able to immediately tell Kakuzu's using Earth Release based on his hand signs, and Sasuke when it comes to the conclusion that Deidara is using Earth Release for his clay bombs, but he is cautious like he always is and methodical. Sasuke went through extra steps in order to confirm his suspicion. suspicions before enacting the plan they used to defeat Deidara. We see later on with Sasuke age 19 during the Sasuke Shinden story of Sunrise that the Eye of Insight can look into the eyes of a person and read through their memories so long as they make eye contact, which thankfully that story was adapted into the Naruto Shippuden anime. You can see that happen in episode 484. On the flip side, as we see in Boruto's anime in the time slip arc that the Naruto series creator Masashi Kishimoto wrote the script for, the Sharingan can not only read memories, but it can also erase memories of people, which is absolutely insane. The Eye of Insight, it does have other limitations you should be aware of, in that it isn't the instant cheat code where someone is using a jutsu in front of you and you just automatically copy it. All those memes that get spread around social media over the years, it's done irreparable damage. It's misled a lot of people. If the Sharingan user does not have the chakra nature mastered themselves, they cannot copy the jutsu. So let's say random Uchiha number 1 is fighting someone who has wind release and they don't have the wind release chakra nature. They can't copy wind release until they undergo the wind release change in chakra nature drill training that we see Naruto undergo. Also, even if they can copy a jutsu or a fighting style, it's not enough to just know how to use the attacks if your body isn't physically capable of withstanding using them. As we saw when Sasuke copied Rock Lee's front lotus and his body, it was worn out. That's why Kakashi, after copying Rock Lee's movements during his match with Gar, had to build Sasuke's body up so that he could fight using that type of fighting style, as well as later on use the Chidori. The second primary power of the Sharingan is the Eye of Hypnotism, my personal favorite, which is basically Sharingan Genjutsu, but make no mistake, this is Genjutsu on steroids, and I don't think it gets enough credit how broken Sharingan Genjutsu is. If 2 people are rated as a 5 in Genjutsu, but one of those people is an Uchiha with the 3 Tomo Sharingan, then the Uchiha is basically a 5 with an asterisk next to their name because their Genjutsu skill, it can't be measured. If this was Dragon Ball Z, the power level scouters, they would start exploding when measuring Genjutsu skill. A really great example of this would be how the Uchiha clan's primary jutsu for Sharingan Genjutsu, called the Demonic Illusion Shackling Stakes, the very same Genjutsu that Itachi and Sasuke used on Orochimaru, where Orochimaru couldn't break free of the Genjutsu on his own, and he had to cut off his own hand in order to overload his senses just to break it. A lot of fans mistake this as Mangekyo's Sharingan Genjutsu. That ain't the case. This is just high-level Sharingan Genjutsu. There's a reason why Chiyo flat out says that when facing a Sharingan user, you're better off running if it's a 1-on-1, and if it's a 2-on-1, you might stand a chance because Sharingan Genjutsu is not broken normally by someone on their own unless they have a Sharingan. So like say Kakashi or Danzo, or there's someone who has a teammate available to disrupt the chakra for them or attack the Uchiha from behind, like Sakura and Chiyo were able to disrupt Naruto's chakra when he was under it, or they're a perfect Jinchuriki like Killer Bee, where the Biju inside of you can break you out of it. And even then, as we see with Yagura, the Mizukage, someone who is stated to have perfect control over his Biju, even he was still placed under Sharingan Genjutsu by Obito. So even that comes with an asterisk, though it should be worth noting Obito was kind of trained by Madara. So I mean, that's like getting training from Michael Jordan on how to play basketball. Legend has it, you're probably gonna be really good. It's for this reason that the Sharingan, it is feared, because their Dojutsu powers are enough that they can control tailed beasts with just their Genjutsu. We see this multiple times in the series. Obito was able to control the Nine Tails with Sharingan Genjutsu, albeit we do learn in the Itachi Shinden story of Midnight, when Uchiha awakened the Mangekyo, it by default strengthens the Genjutsu of a regular 3 Tomo and just the Eye of Insight in general when it comes to precognition for the 3 Tomo. Think of it like a trickle down. The chakra unleashed on the Mangekyo Sharingan trickles down into the 3 Tomo as well. The Sharingan with just a 3 Tomo and not ever having awakened the Mangekyo, it can also enter into the Biju Sanctuary within the Jinchuriki and flat out suppress the chakra of the Biju, as we see Sasuke do it to Naruto. Also, the Sharingan can place multiple people under genjutsu, as we see Sasuke do with the Rinne Sharingan, where he puts all the 9 Biju on their genjutsu, but also with Obito, where he uses Sharingan genjutsu to control the Edo Tensei Jinchuriki when they're in the tail beast transformation. But as we see in chapter 567, Kakashi notices that even Obito is having trouble controlling all the Biju at once, with Obito having to reapply Sharingan genjutsu back onto one of the tail beasts when it tried to attack Obito, and when he uses the Rinnegan's outer path chains, he brings it back down to eye level, and we see the Sharingan eye reappear in the tail beast, and its eyes are straining the same way that Kurama's eyes were straining when Obito placed him under Sharingan genjutsu in chapter 501. As we got told with Itachi to Kakashi, while it is possible for a non-Uchiha to use the Sharingan, due to them not having the body of a Uchiha, they can't properly use the Sharingan because their bodies cannot handle the chakra cost, and they are unable to cut the Sharingan off, which is why Kakashi being praised by Itachi and Obito directly for having a good eye, having good mastery of the Sharingan, and Madara indirectly praising him, saying someone on the other side has to have a good eye on them. That's why that's so huge. With half-breeds like Izumi Uchiha, so Itachi's lover, who Itachi kills in the massacre, but Naruto Shippuden's anime changes it to Obito killing her, and Sarada Uchiha, half-breeds, they can awaken the Sharingan, but it does come with some drawbacks, namely, they have stamina issues, which Sarada herself says in the Boruto anime during the Chunin exams in the Momoshiki arc, where she says that Sharingan is too taxing on her stamina, and Sasuke states the same thing in the Boruto anime when he's training Sarada, drawing a direct correlation to her being unable to maintain the Sharingan for long periods of time directly due to her stamina, and Sakura takes it a step further by saying that it's her chakra control making it worse. In both cases, the half-bloods, when they use the Sharingan for too long, their stamina plummets, which is why if you pay attention to Sarada, when she fights Al, she never uses the Sharingan eye. When she's fighting Boro in the Boruto manga, she is constantly cutting her eye on and off, using it just long enough to read movements and engage in skirmishes, and when she attacks Boro with the Chidori in the manga, you see her eye straining with one eye in the process of closing when she uses Chidori, and she promptly cuts the eye off again after destroying the core. Next, we're going to get into the real world explanation behind the Sharingan. We're going to clear up this annoying half-truth, because anyone just saying that it is a ripoff of Kurapika Scarlet Eyes from Hunter x Hunter, you're only partially right. You've been essentially misled by a lot of anime fans on Twitter. Again, you're partially right. There was inspiration from that, but like a lot of things in Naruto, this eye, it can be traced back to something in Asian culture, from religion to mythology. The fact of the matter is, Sasuke having the Sharingan and being named Sasuke himself runs deeper than him just being named after the third Hokage's father, who was named after a real-life shinobi named Sasuke Sarutobi. So the Sharingan eye takes inspiration from the stories that are found in ninja folklore. The eye of ninja legends, like the Sharingan ability to perceive things that cannot be perceived by others, is reminiscent of the Metsuke and the Kimetsu, which are the special eyes of ninjas that can see through illusions, they can check movements, and they have precognition, just as the Sharingan has the eye of hypnotism and the eye of insight. It also takes from Shinto, where when you look at the stories involving the Yada no Kagami, a sacred mirror that represents wisdom and is one of the sacred treasures of Japan, the inspiration behind the Yada mirror Sasuke's brother Itachi has, the mirror is associated with seeing truth and reflecting reality, the same way that the Sharingan genjutsu can reflect genjutsu illusions when they're casted on them, just as Itachi does to Kurenai. Itachi possesses the Yada mirror. The Sharingan can also reflect genjutsu. Even Kakashi's statement about the Sharingan can look into the future and see death, it goes back to Tengu mythology, Japanese folklore creatures who are stated to be able to see into the future, including future deaths of people, just as Kakashi claimed he could see the death of Zabuza with the Sharingan. When you look at all this information, it can be really easy to see why so many people are desperate to claim the Sharingan eye for themselves, like Danzo, or why others have tried and failed over the years to obtain Uchiha genetics to recreate the eye, which this video on the left breaks down all the past failed attempts to remake the Sharingan. A lot of this was not shown in the anime, including an experiment on a Sand Village Kunoichi who was unfortunate enough to be Orochimaru's test subject. And over here on the right, we have more videos from the Kekkei Genkai handbook in case you want more videos like this one.